I was drunk and fell asleep. The top scholar was caught in the imperial garden by the emperor. He stared at the red marks on the scholar's wrist. Lowering his voice, he said with pain, "Even if you can't stand him, you can't hit him. He's the face of the court." "Your Majesty, you misunderstand. The princess didn't hit me. I was asleep and hadn't spoken yet." Then Lu Yuanhui's cold voice drifted over. My brother yanked me behind the rockery. "Hushed," he asked me, "Zhao Chengyin. What did you do?" I rubbed my forehead. Helplessly, I explained. "Last night, at the palace banquet, I had a few too many drinks. When I left, I ran into Lu Yuanhui walking out alone. I remembered last month at the hunting grounds, when he scolded me publicly over that old grudge. I acted rashly. Sometimes, when my temper flared, I had him dragged back to my bedchamber. I sat on the chair, cursing Lu Yuanhui. How dare you lecture me in public?" Pretending to be pure and righteous. But his face was too handsome. His lips were pressed tight, silent. As I cursed, my voice grew softer. As I cursed, I couldn't help myself. I woke up once in the middle of the night, seeing Lu Yuanhui lying in the blankets. My mind went blank for a moment, and I panicked. But then I thought, my brother has a harem but only loves one woman, still not official. 3 years and still not promoted. I, the esteemed princess, sleeping with a top scholar is nothing. That's the Zhao family way. So I let it go. I reached out, hugged his waist, and closed my eyes to sleep. He stiffened but didn't resist. Until dawn broke. I slowly dressed. Lu Yuanhui was also awake. He lay still, staring at the bed canopy. "All right," I waved my hand. "I'll compensate you for last night." But before I could step out, I heard a crash behind me. I turned around and my soul nearly left my body. Lu Yuanhui had somehow brought a tall stool. He was standing on it. In his hand, he held the rope from last night, tossing it over to the beam. I rushed over to grab him. "What are you doing?" He looked down at me. His eyes were as still as dead water. "Only death can preserve my honor. And clear your highness's name." I stomped in panic. If he really died, the censors would tear me apart. I quickly asked him, "Do you want a grand mansion in the west?" Lu Yuanhui stopped and looked down at me. That look was strange, as if doused with cold water. I seized the chance to kick the stool over, and he fell. He got up and charged at the wall. I held his waist tightly. He charged forward like a stubborn mule. I was desperate, thinking of past lessons. "I guarantee you'll reach 3rd rank in 2 years. Enter the cabinet in 3. Even I feel guilty saying that. 3 years to the cabinet? Even my late father would be stunned." But he really stopped moving. I sighed in relief. "This can be resolved," he panted. His back to me, spine stiff for a long time. He slowly pried my hands off and walked to the table, picking up the small silver knife for cutting fruit. "Your Highness, this matter is not over." Then he began quoting classics. "A gentleman's honor is lie white jade stained with dust. Living is lie a walking corpse. Better to die cleanly." I listened, my scalp tingling, until he said, "Please, Your Highness, fetch a brush, come." "For what?" He looked up, eyes clear. "I'll write my suicide note, clearly stating it's my own shame, unrelated to Your Highness." The knife tip pressed against his heart. I dared not move. From his career to marriage, I reasoned. I understand. Is there someone else in your heart? Do you feel guilty toward them? Tell me who, and I'll go to my brother. I'll make them a princess and grant them wealth." His hand holding the knife paused, and he looked up. "I have no one in my heart." I asked again, "Then what?" He started reciting the sages again. Loyalty and constancy, benevolence and righteousness, a whole set. My head ached. No wealth, no career, no romance. I was completely out of ideas. "Then what do you want?" The words slipped out before I thought. "You can't want me to take responsibility, can you?" After saying it, I was stunned myself. He gently placed the silver knife on the table, then lowered his eyes, lashes casting a small shadow on his face. His voice was so low it was almost inaudible. "Hello. It's me." He looked up. "Your Highness's words are golden." His clear eyes fell on my face. After I finished, my brother laughed. First his shoulders shook, then his whole body trembled, as if completely out of control, as if gone mad. "Zhao Chengyin, you're something, really something." He cursed for a full incense stick's time, from absurd to outrageous. The emperor cherished talent. Lu Yuanhui, a man of action, was his favorite. After cursing me, he turned to pat Lu Yuanhui's shoulder. Earnestly, "Lu King, you've studied hard for over 20 years, finally making it. Becoming the princess' husband, you'll truly be cut off from the court." Lu Yuanhui listened, his gaze calm. "Your Majesty, I am a traditional man. I've read the sages' books since childhood. I know shame and value honor." His voice was low. "So I speak each word as if it were my last. First, if I die, it preserves my integrity and clears Your Highness's name." Lu Yuanhui turned to me. Kyre, his eyes fixed. "Marriage and marital duties should come with the title of husband and wife." My brother choked. He opened his mouth to speak but swallowed his words. Probably never seen such a stubborn top scholar. The air was still for a moment. My brother rubbed his brow and looked at me. His eyes said, "You caused this, you deal with it." My throat went dry as I looked at Lu Yuanhui. His face showed no extra emotion. He just waited quietly, with an air of, "I can die any time." My scalp tingled. After a long while I heard my own voice dry. "I'll marry you." After saying it, I was stunned myself. I listened to my own heartbeat, watching Lu Yuanhui's reaction. He suddenly bowed, performing a proper, respectful salute. "Thank you for your highness's favor, my brother. Let us back to the hall to write the imperial decree." Lu Yuanhui stood by the desk watching. His eyes were like a ruler, scanning every single character. At one point, my brother's brush paused. He looked up and asked, "Lu King, do you have any objections?" Lu Yuanhui thought, "Please add one more clause. Within 3 years, the princess cannot divorce me, nor can she cast me out." Cough, 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 cough. Why? Lu Yuanhui turned to look at me. "If I'm abandoned again, I'll have no choice but to die. Here we go again." I quickly shut up. My brother rubbed his face. Resigned, he wrote, "Within 3 years, the princess cannot divorce her husband." The decree was written, sealed, and given. Lu Yuanhui took it with both hands, carefully read it 3 times. "Thank you, your majesty, for your grace. I take my leave." He took 2 steps, then stopped, turned back to look at me. "Your highness, by custom, I should move into the princess's mansion tonight." After saying that, he turned and left. "Don't look at me. You brought this on yourself." I stiffened my neck. "I won't let him move in," my brother sneered. "Then try. See if he hangs himself on your beam or crashes into your gate tonight." Lu Yuanhui moved in that very evening. I deliberately arranged his quarters at the far west end, separated from my main courtyard by a pond and 2 rockeries, but he had legs and could come over. The next day at noon, I just opened my eyes and saw Lu Yuanhui holding a food box, standing outside the door. He handed me the box, carefully opened it, revealing several delicate pastries, exquisitely made. I didn't take it, just stared at him. He paused, picked up a piece of Osmanthus cake, took a bite himself, not poisoned, then looked up at me. I took the box, pinched a shortbread and tasted it. "I never said it was poisoned. Your highness's daily needs? The steward will be standing there like a pine. Please inform me of your usual meals, tastes, preferences, and taboos." I perked up. "All right. You want to serve me, huh? Garlic raw or cooked?" "No." I started counting on my fingers. He nodded. "No lamb, too gamey. Fish only steamed or braised, no greasy. Fruit only crisp, no soft. No tofu, but if it's tender. Shrimp must be peeled." I spoke faster, watching his brow furrow bit by bit. My petty malice rose. "Top scholar, the sages didn't teach you how to handle a picky eater." Finally, I finished, waiting for his reaction. Lu Yuanhui was silent for a long time, then relaxed his brow. "I understand." I was taken aback. "That's it? No follow-up? Boring." I turned to leave, took 2 steps, suddenly remembered the box of pastries I hadn't taken, paused, wondering how to turn back without losing face. Lu Yuanhui had already handed the box to a servant. The servant trotted over and presented it to me. I snorted, took the box, and went into the room without looking back. The decree was issued. The court exploded. Some called me absurd. More lamented the scholar's wasted talent. The next day, Elder Wang arrived. This old man was a veteran of 3 reigns, stubborn as a rock. After the palace exam, he had praised Lu Yuanhui for half an incense stick, calling him a talent of the nation. Now this talent was to enter my princess's mansion. The old man couldn't sit still. "Yuanhui, you're foolish. 20 years of study, a single success, just when you should serve the country. How can you be trapped in the inner court, ruining your future?" His words were heavy, his voice hoarse. He truly cherished him. "I have failed your high expectations. But in life, some things are more important than a career." "What things?" Lu Yuanhui didn't answer. He glanced sideways in my direction. I slipped behind a pillar, peeking out from behind it. I realized he wasn't looking at me, but at the crabapple blossoms falling by the corridor. The wind swept them onto his shoulders. He didn't brush them off, letting the pale red dot his clothes. Elder Wang's scolding grew faint in the wind. Only the crabapple blossoms kept falling, scattering a fine layer of pink and white. Half an hour later, Elder Wang finally ran out of breath. He shook his sleeves, sighed, and staggered away. The courtyard suddenly fell silent. Lu Yuanhui still stood there. He reached out and caught a falling petal, then closed his palm around it. And I, hiding behind the pillar, thought about Lu Yuanhui's gaze now. He wasn't looking at me. So what was this thing more important than a career? I was suddenly at a loss, as if I had never known him. That day, my friend Susan dragged me to Kingfeng Tower to hear the pipa. Her eyes kept darting to my face. I was eating melon seeds, but my mind was elsewhere. What's wrong? She pressed. I took a sip of tea. It's just that. Honestly, Lu Yuanhui isn't a bad deal. After all, it's not my bright future being sacrificed. So you're really settling for him? Good looks, good figure, and can manage the household? The decree is already issued. Can I back out? Except he's a bit too rigid. Always quoting the sages, but it's tolerable. Susan clicked her tongue. You need to be careful. I always felt Lu Yuanhui's look at you was off. Off how? He always has a straight face. Who doesn't he look at like that? Can't put my finger on it. At those palace banquets and poetry gatherings, I saw him several times behind you. Wasn't he always avoiding me? He did avoid you. But every time you turned your back, he'd watch you from behind. So what if he watches me? I'm beautiful. What's wrong with him looking a few times? It wasn't lust, nor disgust. It was like a butcher. Staring at the fattest pig in the pen, Susan, flustered, gestured like an octopus. You'd better be on guard. A dog that bites doesn't bark. The quietest person is the most poisonous. And you too. After marriage, how will you get along? How will you get used to it? How will you eat? Can you eat the same? If not, the sky was dim on the way back. I lifted the carriage curtain and froze. Why are you here? Lu Yuanhui sat inside, a book rolled in his hand. I stepped in. To escort your highness home. Susan's words swirled in my mind. I sat down, tilting my head to stare at him. His profile was lit and shadowed in the dim light. His eyes were fixed on the book. He never looked up at me. He had always been like this. Whenever we met, he would lower his eyes, bow, and greet me, polite and distant. Even at that hunt, when I chased a deer and nearly fell off the slope, he scolded me publicly, too harshly, quoting classics for a long string. But even then, he never met my eyes. I was furious at the time, thinking this bookworm was just putting on airs. Then a vengeful thought arose. I stared at his profile. He still didn't turn. I reached out and turned his chin, forcing his face toward me. Our eyes met and he froze completely. The book slipped from his hand, falling with a thud on the carriage floor. He just stared at me blankly, without blinking. His gaze moved from my eyes, to my nose, then to my lips. Stopped there, then suddenly looked away. But his ears were already bright red. His voice was strained. This is against the rules. I am a traditional man. Mine, I pondered all night. The more I thought, the more I believed Lu Yuanhui liked me. Wasn't it obvious? I was as usual, good-looking, rich, powerful. Falling for me was only natural. But I couldn't just go ask him. That would make me look narcissistic. I was known for being aloof. I'm beautiful. What's wrong with him looking a few times? What's wrong with him looking a few times? Besides, he liked me first. Why should I be the one to speak? I can't let him have the upper hand. I decided to tell him. Passing by the study, Lu Yuanhui was reading. I sidled up, leaning against his shoulder to look at the page, accidentally brushing his ear. His fingers gripping the book. Suddenly tightened, his Adam's apple bobbed, but he moved an inch away. Your Highness, please rest in the pavilion. I called him over to read me a storybook. He read it perfectly without any emotion. I stretched my foot, accidentally touching him. He froze as if struck. Quickly stood up. Your Highness, I recall there's a document I haven't processed. With that, he turned and walked away swiftly, his robe fluttering. I took a step forward. He took 10 steps back. Over 10 days, I hadn't even touched a corner of his robe. I laughed in frustration. Fine, Lu Yuanhui, you can play this game. I went to the palace to see my brother. Entering the hall, good heavens, a fragrant breeze hit me. My brother was beaming, dressed flamboyantly, admiring a peach-red robe in the mirror. Eunuchs surrounded him, praising his extraordinary aura. This color makes you look like jade. I wrinkled my face. Your complexion is so delicate. Slumping into a chair. How old are you now? What do you know? Your sister-in-law likes me in bright colors. That Miss Yuaner she's been pining for. Finally divorced recently. My brother's smile froze for half a second. Then he puffed out his chest again. I looked at him and didn't pour cold water. Yuaner's personality. She'll never enter the palace. My brother's affair will probably continue. I sighed. Told him all about Lu Yuanhui's rigid, wooden behavior. My brother listened without a word. He slowly fiddled with his jade pendant for a long time. Do you care if he likes you or not? Since you don't like him anyway, why wouldn't I care? Lu Yuanhui liking me proves my charm is superior, doesn't it? Think about it. Conquering someone you hate is so satisfying. My brother's expression was like he'd eaten something foul. We don't usually call that someone you hate. We call it an eyesore to be dealt with eventually. I ignored him and asked for advice. He was annoyed by my pestering. Lowered his voice and whispered for a quarter of an hour. After listening, my eyes went wide. Are you an emperor or a pimp? My brother was serious. Your sister-in-law loves this. I went home and thought for 2 days, forget it, I can't stoop that low, I still have some dignity. But then a thought struck me and I cheered up. I can make Lu Yuanhui learn it. Let him please me, and it's settled. I immediately sent people to gather a basket of books, things like Seven Joys and Moonlit Elegance, piled them all in his study, and thoughtfully attached a note. Study hard. I'll tell you in 3 days. Your Highness. Lu Yuanhui came that very afternoon, carrying those books. From Haitang Studio on East Street. Not enough? I'll send for more. I was lounging eating grapes, looking indifferent. He nodded and turned to leave. Little show-off, quite studious. The next day, Haitang Studio was shut down, charged with selling obscene material, corrupting morals. Lu Yuanhui came specially to report, his face full of righteousness. Such books corrupt public morals. I've had them all confiscated and burned. I was amused and angry. Yuanhui, you're something. You're something. He stood straight. I acted according to the law. What law? Did the bookshop owner offend you? Did the readers offend you? Did the author offend you? My anger flared. Obscene material, corrupting morals, what? What? My voice rose. If that's obscene, then what we did was worse. Reading a book is a crime? Then we should both be in jail. Hand in hand, Lu Yuanhui's ears turned crimson. He opened his mouth but no sound came out. Probably the sages didn't teach how to handle such reckless logic. He struggled for a long time before finding his voice. Poetry and such books cannot be equated. These books corrupt the minds of countless scholars. Their harm is widespread. There he went again, with his cultivate self, regulate family, govern state, pacify world spiel, endlessly lie chanting sutras. But luckily, while he could ramble, I could act. I don't care if it's official or casual wear. I grabbed his collar and wouldn't let go. He pulled back. I pulled back. We circled in the yard. I gave a hard yank, reap. His official robe tore from the collar to the shoulder. Half his collarbone was exposed. Lu Yuanhui reacted first. His face went white then red. Finally, a mix of green and white, like a palette. He quickly raised his hand to cover his shoulder. His knuckles turned white. Lu Yuanhui looked up and glared at me. That look was complicated. Anger mixed with something else I couldn't read. He turned and left. His steps were urgent and heavy. The hem of his robe nearly flew up. I chased after him, shouting, "Don't be mad. I'll make it up to you." He didn't look back. His torn collar disappeared around the corner. Haitang Studio was secretly run by Susan. Everyone had turned a blind eye before, but Lu Yuanhui, with his one-track mind, had exposed it. I scooped up a handful and changed the sentence from madness to a fine. Lu Yuanhui found out and came to me with a dark face. We had a fight in the study. He said I was bending the law for personal gain and allowing filthy things to spread. I got furious at that, talking about favors. Lu Yuan hates all the officials in the court. Only you are so pure and aloof. Haitang Pavilion has been open for 3 years. Not a single coin of tax has been missed. All the necessary bribes were paid properly. Why didn't anyone investigate before? Do you think you're the only one with eyes? Just because you're newly appointed. Your first flames burn on my sisters. Rules are rules. Your Highness, how is this different from those corrupt officials? I laughed in anger, saying I am a corrupt official. My whole family are corrupt officials. Only you, Scholar Lu, are pure as ice and jade, with eyes that can't tolerate a speck of dust. Then why did you agree to marry me? And tie yourself to a corrupt official? He was choked by my words and couldn't speak. His chest heaved. His eyes were even a bit red. Finally, he flicked his sleeves and left. I couldn't be bothered to chase him. Let him be angry. Who indulges this cold war that lasts so long? By the day of the wedding. He had sent pastries 3 times. Each time I returned them unopened. The 4th time he came himself. He stood outside the courtyard gate for half an hour. I didn't let him in. The wedding rituals were tedious, exhausting everyone to the bone. That night, the guests dispersed. I was slightly drunk, and Susan and the others giggled as they crowded me toward the bridal chamber. A crowd squeezed to the door. I raised my hand and pushed open the door. One look, and I slammed the door shut again. Susan shouted, "What, did you see a ghost?" I took a couple of deep breaths, then turned and yelled at them. Before they could tease me, I cracked the door open, quickly slipped inside sideways, and locked it behind me. I saw Lu Yuanhui kneeling on the bed. His bright red wedding robe was taken off, folded neatly and placed by the pillow, and he had tied himself up like a zongzi with red string. I stood at the door, half of my drunkenness gone. Lu Yuanhui's eyes flickered. Then he forced them to settle on my face. His voice was very soft. "I wanted to make your Highness hep pie." I stood still. He waited, and when he saw no reaction from me, the tips of his ears turned red bit by bit, even his neck flushed with a rosy color. This zongzi was really poorly wrapped. The rope was tied a bit too tight. I walked over. The soles of my shoes made a faint sound on the floor. His breathing became light. I stopped in front of him and looked down at him. This face was indeed beautiful. Then lay unwrapping a gift. I carefully untied the rope on the zongzi. A few hours later, Lu Yuanhui sighed. That sigh fell into the candlelight, as if he had walked a very long road, and finally arrived home. All those words I wanted to say, didn't say, and did say. Some words can be too extreme in action. Fool, that's improper. But if you've rid yourself stupid, how dare you lecture me in public? False purity, false propriety. Your memories never cease. You know, I truly love you, Your Majesty. Your subject is a traditional man, having read the sage's book since childhood, knowing shame and valuing reputation. Now that things have come to this, there are only two paths. First, your subject dies to preserve your subject's integrity and spare your highness from disgrace. Second, we marry properly. But since we have already acted as husband and wife, we should bear the name of husband and wife from the start. Your lack of resolve, I have you. I'll accompany your highness. Your subject remembers there's a document still unprocessed. Hey. What a blockhead. The next day, when we went to the palace to thank the emperor, Lu Yuanhui was kept behind alone by my brother. The two whispered in the hall for nearly an incense stick's time before the door opened. When Lu Yuanhui came out, his ears were a bit red. Seeing me looking at him, he immediately straightened his back with a stiff expression again. Ahem. On the way back to the mansion in the carriage, what did my brother say to you? He looked straight ahead, his Adam's apple bobbing. How to maintain harmony between husband and wife and build a harmonious and blessed home together. I was speechless. My brother can teach such proper things? Lu Yuanhui has been a bit busy lately. A consort can't hold real power. He's been handing over duties to his colleagues and was transferred to a leisurely position. He leaves early and returns late every day, handing over documents with his colleagues. It's hard to see any emotion from him. I don't know if he's content or not, but his family back home isn't content. Lu Yuanhui's biological mother died early. His father remarried a new wife and dumped him with his grandfather, not asking about him for over a decade. Now, of course, they've traveled thousands of miles from their hometown. That day, Lu Yuanhui wasn't at the mansion. I was the one who met his crazy parents. I've seen plenty. After all, the year my father gave my mother a lip potion, my mother stabbed him 3 times and casually fed him infertility medicine. What scene haven't I seen? But a father as ridiculous as Lu Yuanhui's, I've encountered for the first time. He opened his mouth asking for money and stretched out his hand for power. A 7-courtyard mansion must be prepared, and he also wants a future for his younger son, hinting that since his son is favored, the whole family should rise with him. I propped my chin up, watching the show, watching them perform their act. They gave me the illusion that I have a good temper, just as I was thinking whether to drag them out directly or have the guards throw them out. Lu Yuanhui returned. He stood at the door, with no expression on his face. His gaze swept over his father and stepmother, finally landed on my face. Then he walked over, reached out and grabbed his father by the back of the collar. His father wasn't tall to begin with, being lifted like this. His feet left the ground. He flailed twice, stunned. His stepmother immediately started screaming. Lu Yuanhui ignored her, dragged his father out, lay dragging a flapping chicken. His father came to his senses and started cursing. The voice grew fainter. I called out loudly, "Are you coming back for dinner tonight?" He didn't stop walking. His voice drifted over from the corridor, very crisp, dead. I raised an eyebrow and sat back down to drink tea. When Lu Yuanhui returned in the evening, I was feeding the fish in the courtyard. Solved. His voice was flat. I quickly asked, "How did you solve it?" He walked over and stood beside me watching. Signed a document. 2 copies. They take the money and leave, never to bother us again. My hand scattering fish food paused. That's it? He looked at me, a hint of confusion appearing in his eyes. How did they agree to take money? Gave them some money. 3,200 to cut clean. I was directly silenced by his naivety. With his father's greedy face, even a mountain of gold wouldn't fill that bottomless pit. Endless entanglements will follow from now on. Lu Yuanhui is still too green. He doesn't know that human greed has no limit. Why not just eliminate the root of the trouble? As soon as the words left my mouth, I regretted them. How stupid. Zhao Chengying. That's his own father. No matter how rotten, he's still family. What are you playing at, acting like the king of hell? I was about to backtrack, but I saw Lu Yuanhui's completely. My heart skipped a beat. Lu Yuanhui suddenly stepped forward, raised his hand and covered my mouth, quickly looked left and right. Then he leaned down close to my ear, in a low, urgent voice. How can you say such things in public? I was silent again. I pulled his hand away. He hesitated, his expression serious, then moved half a step closer to me. His voice dropped even lower. Lay a thief. Even if we have to do it, it must be at night. It seemed he was really considering it, not considering whether he should, but considering how to do it. That night, Lu Yuanhui detailed his plan to me. I was dumbfounded. He paused. His expression was completely serious. How can this be called using a borrowed knife to kill? His voice was steady, as if he were reciting a book. It's only natural. I'm just letting the people who need to know what they need to know. What if they still pay it back? They can't pay it back, and they won't give it to me. I'm the top scholar and married a princess. The news spread back to the village long ago. The moment he entered the capital, the village chief had his eye on him. Who would believe he has no money? 3,200 isn't enough to fill the hole. The chief will just think he's hiding a fortune and won't pay. What if the chief brings your father to your door asking for money? Lu Yuanhui looked up. I am the princess's man. Would they dare touch me? Ha, not bad. Lu Yuanhui, you're pretty good at using your status to bully people. I'll handle it for you. Thank you, your highness. 1 month later, a plea for help from Lu's father arrived. The gist was that as soon as they entered their home, creditors grabbed them. The silver wasn't even enough to pay the interest. He said he sent someone to the capital to get silver from Lu Yuanhui, but the man was beaten up and cursed at. The letter. Finally, he asked Lu Yuanhui to send some money. I didn't even let the letter be brought to Lu Yuanhui. I threw it straight into the fire, my own little fool. Only I can bully him, besides. The capital is far from Langya, over mountains and rivers. It's perfectly normal for a letter to not arrive with such a long journey. Lu Yuanhui found out about this 3 days later. That night he tossed and turned. The bedboards creaked. I kicked him. She was quiet. In the darkness his breathing was heavy. After a long time he finally spoke. His voice was low and hoarse. Your subject is too ruthless. I was silent, a bit confused. Does this even count as ruthless? After a while he asked again. Your subject is two-faced and scheming. Lu Yuanhui, is being scheming a bad thing? In this world those without schemes would have been eaten to the bone long ago. But I don't care how you treat outsiders. As long as you don't use those twists and turns on me, then you can have 800 schemes, and I'd be hep high. After I said that, Lu Yuanhui didn't say a word for a long time. I leaned over and touched his face in the dark. My fingertips were a bit wet. He was crying. He said in a muffled voice, burying his face in my palm, let's sleep. I clicked my tongue, didn't call him out on it. My other arm reached around and patted his back. In autumn, official transfers were frequent. Invitations for promotions from the colleagues who were in the same class as Lu Yuanhui flew into the mansion like snowflakes. Lu Yuanhui and I couldn't avoid attending banquet after banquet. The tables were lively, cups cling. Everyone's face was glowing red. The one who had been a poison tester in the Hanlin Academy slapped him hard on the shoulder and sighed. Being able to marry a princess, I don't see brother Lu's good fortune. The words were pretty, but the glances that drifted over carried a hint of pity mixed with something else. Lay looking at a jade vase enshrined on a high shelf, beautiful but dusty, useless. I turned to look at Lu Yuanhui. He was concentrating on peeling shrimp for me. He ignored the noise at the table, just kept his head down peeling and putting the shrimp meat into my dish. He peeled with such focus, not even caring about the grease on his knuckles. I stared at his hands. These hands should be holding a brush to write memorials and composing brilliant essays, but now they were peeling shrimp for me. On the way back in the carriage, I asked him, do you regret becoming a consort? He was stunned, turned to look at me, his face full of tension. Regret? Before I could say anything, he started rambling again. I was speechless again. That little bit of melancholy I had was blown away in an instant. Who said I regret it? I'm asking you. What would I regret? Studied hard for over a decade, even passed the imperial exam and became the top scholar. Gave up a promising career. Won't go back, really won't go back, won't go back. He answered too readily, so I didn't quite believe him. I was about to press him further, but then he suddenly lifted his face. His eyes locked onto me firmly, as if he had made a decision. For the imperial exams, to be an official, to become the top scholar. His Adam's apple bobbed, his voice dropping, but every word was clear. I was stunned. What? He didn't repeat it, just pursed his lips and looked at me. The light from the lantern outside slid across her cheek. My mind was buzzing. Have we met before? It took me a while to come back to my senses. He didn't say anything. What? Did I hit you back then? I really wasn't the kind of person as a child who would make someone remember me fondly. Thinking it over, the possibility of making an enemy was far greater than making a friend. I racked my brain and couldn't remember any chance to hit him. Lu Yuanhui is from Langya. Although I went on an inspection tour with my parents to Kinzu as a child, I never set foot in Langya. When did it happen? Where? I started to say. He just turned his face away, staring at the swaying carriage curtain, his lips pressed tightly together, as if hiding a huge secret. Holding it in for so long, now he just let a bit slip, but didn't know how to pour it all out. I stared at him the whole way, from the carriage to the mansion gate, from getting off the carriage to the corridor. The question I wanted to ask circled on my tongue again and again, but looking at his profile, which looked even more handsome in the lantern light, I suddenly forgot what I was going to ask. This face was really beautiful, and he walked with a certain stiffness, which somehow exuded a hint of allure. I was bewitched by this beauty for a moment. By the time I came to my senses, I had already pulled her into the room. Your Highness, the servants. They'll be coming to deliver things later. Stop pretending in front of me. Lu Yuanhui is lie this. He wants to be close to me, but refuses to say it. Just looks at you with those clear, bright eyes. That night, I was so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open, but he slowly pressed closer, his arm wrapped around my waist, his forehead gently resting on the back of my neck. He called my name. I was drowsy. I patted his back in return. I'm here. Go to sleep. He was quiet for a moment, then immediately, as if to confirm something, Chandyun. I had to answer him again. This went on and on. I lost my patience. I pushed his head into my arms. I'm right here, not going anywhere. He hummed softly and pulled me closer into his arms. Our heartbeats pressed against each other, beat by beat, steadily drifting into dreams. Consort, tell me, when did you set your sights on me? Your Highness, your subject is not good at talking about such things. Then we'll sleep in separate rooms tonight. Your Highness, your subject can actually try. Already. Yuan Hui, we have distinguished guests today. That guest has a son and daughter about your age. You must be warm. Don't always be so serious. But I still have to study, grandfather. Grandfather hesitated, shook his head and walked out of the room. Cry? Not for a few days. The distinguished guest his grandfather mentioned arrived. The adults were talking in the hall. Grandfather gestured for him to take the two children to play in the corridor. The boy was lively and came over to ask, "What book are you reading?" The girl looked at him with bright, sparkling eyes. The sage's books, of course. Perhaps they had never seen such a little antique. The siblings exchanged a glance and ran off to the courtyard themselves. He breathed a sigh of relief, sat back down in the corridor and continued reading. He turned the pages. In the distance there was a commotion. He looked up and his soul flew away. That little girl was lifting her skirt and climbing the old apricot tree in the corner of the courtyard. Step on that thick branch on the left. Lu Yuanyu quickly stepped forward to stop her. How can you do this? It's against the rules. What if you fall? Before he could finish, a green apricot fell from the tree and hit him right on the forehead. Didn't hurt, but it was cold. Don't yell. If you call my mother, it'll be trouble. Good brother. Keep watch for us, okay? Just for a while. Lu Yuanhui opened his mouth, wanted to say no, that it wasn't proper. But the siblings looked at him with such hopeful eyes, he could only nod. Picked up his book and went back to the pillar, but his ears were pricked up, listening for any sounds. That day, the three of them ended up sitting side by side on the well curb, each holding a green apricot in their hands. The brother took a bite and his whole face scrunched up. The sister followed suit, her little face falling. She looked at Lu Yuanhui with reproach. He looked down at his own intact apricot. Haven't you eaten the apricots from your own tree? By the time they're ripe, the birds have pecked them all. Oh, you've missed out on the taste. You didn't think to save any when they were ripe? The siblings started giving him advice on how to keep the birds away and how to secretly store them. As they talked, the topic drifted away. Isn't there a lantern festival soon? Do you know where the liveliest place in the city is that night? I don't know. Grandfather rarely allows me to go out. That's okay. We're only leaving at the end of the month. On the night of the Lantern Festival, you tell your grandfather that you're coming with us to play. The three of us will go together. He didn't answer. He felt his grandfather would most likely not allow it. As they were leaving, that little girl suddenly turned back and stuffed another letter into his hand. Take it slow. Don't let the birds get it again. In the following 10+ days, he studied especially hard, lying in bed at night. He couldn't help counting the days until the 15th. He thought that if his studies improved, grandfather might agree. But before the 15th arrived, that family left in a hurry. The next deep spring, he was scolded by his grandfather. He left the study with his head down, but when he looked up, he was stunned. All the green apricots on the tree were still perfectly hanging on the branches. He stared at them for a long time. He quietly went to the tree himself. The moonlight was hazy, and the shadows of the branches swayed on the ground. He rolled up his sleeves and started to climb. He had read many books, but this was his first time climbing a tree. His foot slipped, and he fell straight down, landing hard on the muddy ground. The noise startled the night watch servant. When his grandfather saw him in such a mess, he scolded him again. Lu Yuanhui knelt there without a word. Did they leave so suddenly? Without even saying goodbye. It was much later that he found out that extraordinary couple were actually the emperor and empress traveling incognito. My father gave my mother a lip potion. My mother stabbed him 3 times and casually fed him infertility medicine. This is the stay of my family. What scene haven't I seen? It was much later that he found out that extraordinary couple. And the little girl who had stuffed a green apricot into his hand, with eyes as bright as stars, was Princess Zhao Changning. That day he held the book page, not moving for a long time. The apricot tree outside the window no longer bore fruit, leaving only bare branches, silently pointing at the gray sky. When he was 10, his grandfather died. In the morning hall, white banners fluttered. The smell of incense and candles was choking. He knelt upright, but his mind was a complete blank. His father was indifferent, his stepmother was harsh. The days in the old Langya mansion stretched on without end. A person in a sea of suffering needs a little hope to hold on to, but he could only scrape together a little. A vague afternoon. By the well curb, 3 little figures sat side by side, each holding a sour green apricot. At first there was no other thought. He just felt that studying was hard. He wondered if the 3 of them would ever have a chance to go to the Lantern Festival together. The next time he saw Zhao Chengying was when Lu Yuanhui was 18 on the main street of the capital. A rich bully was riding his horse recklessly through the street, knocked over an old man's vegetable stall, and raised his whip to strike someone. Lu Yuanhui was about to step forward. A figure snatched the whip before him. Then a sharp crack rang out. It struck the Wanku across the face. How dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? He flicked the whip, his tone lazy. Yet it carried a domineering edge. I don't care who you are. Bullying the people in broad daylight. You're the one I'm hitting. The Wanku paled and fled in panic. Lu Yuanhui stood still, not moving. He watched him toss the whip behind. The guard pulled a silver ingot from his pouch and placed it in the old man's trembling hand. Then he called out toward the fleeing Wanku. If I see you oppress the people again, I'll break your legs. Lu Yuanhui listened. Suddenly felt something hit his chest. Dull and burning hot. From the murmurs of passers-by, he learned that was Princess Zhao Changying, the girl who once gave him peace in Jinglin. This time it wasn't just a memory, but an obsession. Later, through cold nights of study, whenever he couldn't hold on, he thought, rise higher, stand out more. Maybe one day she'd glance down from her high seat. Just one glance, one single glance. Later he truly became the top scholar. On the parade day, he sat tall on his horse. His eyes secretly swept the towers on both sides, always searching for Zhao Changying's shadow. Only afterward did he hear. The princess found it too crowded and never left home. That breath he held suddenly deflated, leaving an empty void. Later, he did see her at the palace banquet, surrounded by attendants dressed in finery. Someone introduced him to step forward and bow, tense and stiff. Greetings, your highness. She was already lounging in her seat watching him, scanning him slowly from head to toe. Lu Yuanhui's heart pounded wildly, as if being judged by a deity. Yuan Liang is even handsomer than the third-place scholar. Her voice was soft, just reaching his ears, a light casual remark, yet it crashed lay thunder in his heart. She finished speaking and looked away, continuing to chat and laugh with others. Lu Yuanhui retreated to his seat. His palms were drenched in sweat as he sat. He gripped his wine cup and stared at the wavering reflection inside. That light flickered, dim and bright, lay his shameful hidden thoughts. Did she remember him? Maybe. But only as better than the third-place scholar. Those later encounters were all carefully calculated by him. Lu Yuanhui began to pay attention to invitations for banquets in the capital, which family's poetry gathering, which official feast would Zhao Changying attend. He always had to inquire in advance. After gathering the news, he'd plan his greetings by lamplight, how to be proper when paying respects, which robe would make him look elegant, without seeming too deliberate. It had only been 3 days since his last approach. Would it seem too frequent? When he actually saw her, he dared not look much. He bowed with eyes down, voice flat and tight. Just a simple greetings, your highness, then stepped aside to clear the path. But his peripheral vision clung to her, watching what hairpin she wore today, what clothes she had on, whether her lips were curved or pressed tight. And Zhao Changying's gaze at him was always looking at an object. A pretty object, a useful object. What truly made her look at him was that time at the hunting grounds. He chased a deer on horseback, riding too fast, and veered toward the eastern slope. Lu Yuanhui, don't be nervous, you can do this. Say something caring to her. It's sure to win her favor. Your actions are too extreme and lack propriety. Lu Yuanhui, what nonsense did you just say? No wonder even your grandfather finds you boring. Zhao Changying stopped, turned back to look at him, her face tight, her brows furrowed. Top scholar, you sure have a wide reach. The lecture's over. Lu Yuanhui, you're such an idiot. After that, whenever he saw her coming from afar, he'd instinctively avoid her. If he couldn't, he'd bow with eyes down, his voice flat and tight, not daring to utter a single extra word, afraid one more word would annoy her further. But who could have guessed, after that night's banquet, she walked alone out of the palace. Suddenly, 2 guards appeared behind her and politely tied her up. Then he should have pushed her away. That's what the books taught, but he didn't. At first, Lu Yuanhui truly planned to take the slow path. Slow and steady leads to natural success. Sun and moon shine together, hearts reflect each other. Though his reflection on Zhao Changying was like a blind man lighting a lamp, that night was an accident, and the most outrageous thing he'd ever done. So outrageous that afterward, he lay there, his mind buzzing. Half was the collapse of utter disgrace. Half was the dizzying disbelief that it came true. 2 forces twisted and pulled, tearing his soul apart. So later, when he threatened to hang himself or hit the wall, half was genuine despair, half was a gamble. If he lost, he'd go home and hang himself. If he won, he dared not think about it. What are you doing? Then what do you really want? And he actually won the gamble. Zhao Changying said she'd take responsibility, and he agreed instantly, afraid she'd change her mind. This works. The imperial decree is written and sealed. Then he didn't know what to do next. The books didn't teach this. He'd read all the classics, but none taught how to please a wife. Slow and steady, he thought, there's still time. But Zhao Changying clearly wasn't someone who could be kept. She was like a wildfire, darting everywhere, sometimes disappearing without a trace, other times teasing him lightly. He couldn't catch up and dared not chase too closely, afraid she'd find him annoying or clingy. And those storybooks Zhao Changying threw at him. He opened one page and his eyelids twitched. What is this nonsense? How improper. He lay there, his ears burning hot. The world is in decline. Hearts are not what they used to be. He reported Haitang bookstore to the authorities. During those days of Cold War, Lu Yuanhui was truly out of ideas. He sought an audience with the emperor. His intention was to ask for advice. Don't be so reserved. But after his brother-in-law heard his purpose, he stroked his chin with a knowing smile and taught him nothing proper. 2 little figures fought in his mind. One cried absurd, the other timidly thought, what if it works? The emperor's final instructions still buzzed in his ears, mixed with a hint of mischievous laughter. What is all this? Oh, but Zhao Changying was immune to both soft and hard tactics. His sage-lay reasoning meant nothing to her. Maybe he needed to try something different. This thought emerged, and startled even himself. His dignity and rules, when Zhao Changying turned away, had long shattered. He steeled himself. Lu Yuanhui gradually found the trick. Zhao Changying responds to softness, not force, showing weakness beats reasoning. His restrained dependence and occasional displays of vulnerability worked far better than any sage wisdom. And her little schemes, Zhao Changying was entirely unaware. No matter how many banquets in the capital, you can't run into someone 7 out of 10 times, 3 or 4 times maybe. Some were ladies' gatherings, no men invited. Otherwise, how could he be so sure? Does Lu Yuanhui lie me? Lu Yuanhui, I think you're not old-fashioned at all. You're very clever. All those 800 tricks up your sleeve, you've used every single one on me. Your Highness flatters me. Come, take a look at this document. Your Highness, the consort must avoid suspicion. Whose handwriting is on this petition? Your Highness. In whose name was it submitted? Also Your Highness, huh? Then what does that have to do with you, Lu Yuanhui? Even if it does, we're husband and wife. I'm puzzled by official matters. You can give me some advice. Which law does that break? What do you think? Can it really be done this way, Your Highness? Oh, by the way, was that wedding night stunt really taught by my brother? Your Highness, keep your voice down. If it gets out, it won't look good for His Majesty. Come on, my brother's character. Every court official knows it. Besides, everyone in our Zhao family has a reputation. But alright. Look how scared you are. Let's not talk about them. Husband, please rest. Wife, please. Husband, please. Don't be so polite with me.